a young parent having all the kids lined up on the bench at church, and my kids are older now. And the one sacrament meeting that they all remember was when a sister got up and bore her soul about some mistakes she had made. And the sister was our age, and my kids knew her and everything, and she just let it all out. My kids have never forgot that. And one of my sons is in his 40s, and that's a sacrament meeting that they never forget because somebody was real. And I think too often, we talk about being in the middle and on the good ship, Zion and stuff, and that's good and bad. It's good as far as the doctrine, the gospel, and following the leaders. That's the good part. The bad part of that is always feeling like you're safe and never saying anything or expressing anything that might be a little bit over on this side or a little on this side because you're so afraid of offending or exposing too much of your inner soul. And so we just go down this safe path, and basically it's boring and people aren't interested in just the same old thing all the time. So I throw that out there too, that I think we could help a lot in when we have that opportunity to be real and to talk about struggles, to talk about our testimony of intense things. When you see or hear some of the early meetings of the church and the things that were expressed in the beginnings of this church, they're awesome. They would be spellbinding. And now we've kind of just gone into this mode of very, very safe.
Yeah. When I asked the question, do you think Joseph Smith would be proud of the church today? I had a lot of people actually just DM me about that and give their thoughts. Like, that's interesting because I feel like Joseph Smith was very, very loud and different than a lot of what we kind of have right now. And I was like, well, that's true. And so I think, we became suburbanized. That was a big part of it. And I think I honestly think we got, you look at the Sandra Tanners, the God Makers, that whole like evangelical anti-Mormon crew, they just attacked us so much in the 70s and 80s and 90s. It just
kind of doesn't work anymore. Their tactics.
Well, no, their tactics are the whole evangelical Mormon the thing is done for. Like, it's not even nobody cares. It's I think the last big one was, well, the last big like Mormon evangelical video was at least the one that was on our radar was actually the one that I debated a Calvinist pastor at UVU.
I watched that. I love that one.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
After that, there haven't been that many videos like that. It's just kind of it's atheists are the real battleground here. It's not some guy who says it's not that brand of Christianity. But in the 80s and 90s, they just attacked us so much, and I think it made a lot of members sort of kind of pivot and, well, let me just talk about what other what general Christians like. And so we would kind of lost our uniqueness. I don't know how many people in the church still know the tune to "If You Could Hide a Cold." Him. I'm not sure how many people, right? So yeah, I think that there's a number of reasons that we have kind of lost some excitement, but I think they're all things that can be fixed.
I do too.
Isn't there a scripture though that says that in the last days they will say that miracles are done away with? And I think that's, every time I read those, like 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, I really believe that they're talking that Paul and others and John were talking to the members of the church today. It's the members that are saying miracles are done away with. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
No, I think I think there's a lot more in the scriptures that are, I think we've decided that, I think we've decided that, well, people, certain messages in the New Testament and in the Book of Mormon, and especially the Old Testament, are just for that time period, and say, well, this is actually very specific to this time period. However, if all these guys knew how things were going to go, and that there would be a last ultimate dispensation, the only dispensation where God's church is worldwide, I assume they're going to have a lot more to say about that time.
There's something very unique about our generation.
Right. Where we have the new and everlasting covenant. Like they dreamed of a time in which God's church was all over the earth, united in one. That's where we're in that phase right now. So all of these things apply to us.
Right.
And so I think well, yeah, there's also it's in the Book of Mormon. Miracles ceased, nay, if they've ceased, yeah, I mean, I'm paraphrasing now too, but
I know what you mean.
There is a desperate cry, because there's a desperate cry for I use the phrase of Midnight Mormons a lot, bring back the magic, because I should put, like, I want to put it on a shirt and wear that shirt, because that's how I feel, just yelling that, like, bring back the magic. Because when you don't have that, when you don't have that kind of fire, then what makes the rest of it worth it, right? Besides, like, what do you get out of general conference if you don't feel like there's the magic there in the church? What's the difference between that and like a United Methodist, conference, or a big self-help seminar,
or
right?
a Hallmark card?
Right. There's not much difference. And so I mean, I've written down a million ideas. If one day if I ever get someone in the church calls me and says, hey, give us a couple ideas, I'll say, I will send you everything I have. I've only met some of the apostles a couple times, and they've been in, like, when I worked with the B1 conference, like I got to shake their hands, how you doing? Maybe have a 30-second conversation, and then didn't want to hug, and I walked away so that people could talk to them, kind of a thing. I've never really, but there's a number of things we can do that would just, people think they're small, but they're not. They're very, very big things we could really do. I think, and they don't change our doctrine. It doesn't change our church. They don't challenge authority. It would challenge some of the bureaucrats who in the church office building, the red tape guys.
Yeah.
The quorum of the red tape. Yes, it could challenge some of those people, but it wouldn't challenge what. And man, we are. Boy, if I can say this real quick, and then I'll shut up for a sec.
You're fine, man. Don't shut up, please.
I just wonder why so many very highly academic progressive Mormons are allowed to kind of say and do whatever. But those who want to see some real change for the general people, not for their collegiate friends, but just for the actual people, why those people are shut off so much. That really bothers me. But it's funny, the main people who are objecting to Stone 16, because we're a little irreverent, there's Red Bulls on the wall, and it's just, we're just being real, and we're talking, and we openly talk about the faults we have, but then we bear testimony a lot, and we talk about, Stone 16. It was progressive Mormons saying this is bad. It was not conservative members or even just normal. It was the very progressive ones. And I was like, well, if you're the progressive Mormons here, aren't you
guys a little more laid back? You got your hair out. And...
They're not.
No,
they're not. When you fundamentally want to change the church's doctrine and teachings, if somebody is effectively and in a fun, warm way communicating the Orthodox message and making that exciting, that's the thing you should be against the most. And so that's why that crowd does not like Stone 16, even though they should. By all accounts, they should. It's because we're not trying to turn our church into the Methodist Church.
I see what you're saying.
We're
and the thing
proud
is,
to be LDS.
They're losing when you have the ability to communicate and to share and to be open. You're gaining individuals wanting to hear that, and then that other group, they lose control. It's all about control. And they have the control right now, just like what you said. They can basically do whatever they want with no repercussions. And it's been happening for quite some time, I think. And you guys are breaking into that little club of,
Right.
and it's a threat to them. It's a threat to their control.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be putting on we can't call it a fireside because it's not approved, a rally soon here in Provo. I've talked with my event company, and we're going to do a first religious event that's literally a rally for the gospel. There's going to be music, like really like interesting, fiery talks where the whole goal is people are going to leave and think, I am proud to be a Latter-day Saint. This is my tribe. These are my people. Just a rally of, okay. And I have to say this, I have to specify, I'm not saying this because I am going to claim a political side, but if you take a look at how one former president changed the way politics happened, right?
It was the rallies.
It was, he had people dancing.
Yeah.
You know, President Trump had people, and you're like, what? And the videos of him dancing to YMCA on stage with people, like, it's like, what is this? This is not, it feels like a football game, you know?
Yeah.
He absolutely brought a level of excitement and political magic, and got people who felt forgotten about. I think that's what a lot of the political punch are saying. He's getting the people who feel forgotten about excited. And it's like, man,
well, it's like what you're saying too is the critics want us to be stuffy. They want us to keep being square and stuffy, right? Instead of hip and and
that's right.
And can I
go ahead?
Can I go a little further? They want us to be insecure. They want us to feel like we don't have power. They want us to feel ashamed and embarrassed to say that we're LDS. They want us to feel weak and small. And with that, we have to undo that. Because if let's say you just have a little bit of a testimony, just a small bit, and you're too afraid to even say what religion you are, and you're in Utah, and you're like, right. You know what I mean? That's really a sign the enemy is winning. I think that's how it's always been, make you feel insignificant and small. But it doesn't, people need to feel motivated and excited. And people need to be proud of people from Pioneer heritage should be proud of that and not be so like, yeah, I'm like, whatever. I'm technically, you know, my family's been in Utah forever. It's so lame. Like, that's not lame. You get to claim that you're a descendant of someone who had nothing but a few, maybe 2 years of formal education and was a carpenter in Vermont named Brigham Young, who had no qualifications to build a country, to lead 70,000 people across a desert from the east to the west coast and build a country in the desert. That is an unthinkable thing that does not happen. He did that. You're related to him. You should be happy about that. That should be the coolest thing ever. Instead, you're downplaying. Or I talked to someone the other day who was she was telling me how she was like, I didn't know that polygamy was a thing. Like I was so like disgusted and horrified to hear about that. And so I stopped her and I said, your last name is Kimball. What do you mean you didn't know about polygamy? You wouldn't exist without it. What are you talking about? Your last name is you're a descendant of Heber C. Kimball. It was just so funny because I was like, you're one of the you've completely forgotten who you are. I say this as a convert, right? Who is the first member in his family line. I get to look at the people and I go, you guys are from a lineage that is so beautiful and cool. Who else in the country gets to claim that? Just the story of the pioneers is unthinkably amazing.
Right.
You started a country in the desert and you had no qualification. Let's see if a couple of academics could have done that. They couldn't have. It had to be someone like Brigham Young. And so I go, man, we need people to be excited about that, and we get people to go, well, I never thought of it that way. Like, that is actually really cool. And moreover, if they could do that, then what can I do? If they had that kind of power in them from the Lord, then what kind of power has He given me? And then you start to motivate people, help people realize that that there's real worth inside of them. You know what I mean? That it's actually there, and they can be inspired. And then what if you've not only increased someone's confidence, but you've increased their testimony. That is exactly what they need. It's not PDFs from the Maxwell Institute that aren't going to help them. It's not programs built just to get people in a room in hopes that they'll be friends. It's real change inside the heart. It's really doing something. And so we'll hope that this rally works. That
Oh yeah.
it does
So,
some good. But
hey, Kwaku, on that line. So what would you, if you could boil it down to the top 3 unique things of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ that we're maybe somewhat embarrassed or that we don't express, but it's unique to our faith, what would you say those are that are things that would excite young people as well as be influential in missionary work in spreading the gospel that we kind of ignore?
That's a
Could
good
you boil it
question.
down? I mean, you said the pioneer heritage, that's one for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, the other one is temples.
Temples.
Temples. And one is the fact that there's the lack of Eastern diversity in Utah has actually hurt us. And the fact that we don't appreciate temples, because every single person I talk to in the church who is a brown of some sort thinks of the temple ceremony, and they're totally fine with it. For some reason, it's only like the members of my age who are from the suburbs of Utah who are white who don't. It's because if you're me, like me, Ghanaian Arab, you think of the temple ceremony. I can name 5 different things in Islam or Hinduism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They all have
some of those Eastern religions where they're wearing sacred clothing and they have sacred rituals. Totally normal. If you've never seen anything like that, you're gonna be like, "Why? That's so weird. What are you doing?" No, it's not weird. Just meet someone from just that entire side of the world. Talk to one person. That's all you got to do, right?
Yeah.
But I like to phrase it this way. I like to say, what other organization goes to the capital of a state or a country and builds a palace and then says you can't go in? That is objectively funny and kind of baller and also really cool. I was in a hot tub months ago, only a few blocks from here, talking with some guys who had someone recognized me from YouTube, so we started asking some gospel questions, and that entire half of the hot tub were like vehement ex-Mormons, and we were talking about just the gospel and everything, and then the whole religion. And he was talking about like why he doesn't think society needs religion. So I asked him, what about architecture? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, go to Orem State Street. There's nothing but warehouses, tattoo parlors, and just really ugly fast food restaurants. You can't, it's kind of depressing when you drive through there. Now, how come when I drive through downtown Salt Lake City, Temple Square, I'm not depressed? How come I'm like, wow, it's really beautiful? Why is it that people who aren't even Catholic, who don't have connection, who are not Italian, who don't have connections to Rome, why do they want to go to Vatican City? You want to go to these places where people have built monuments to their God because it looks better, and you're like, man, this is amazing. You want the pyramids? People make things so beautiful, we think aliens did it. That's how amazing architecture is. Right. It's so good. People go, aliens made this. There's no way humans did. What about that? There's an actual beauty to religion that we have with our temples, that we're one of the few people carrying on that tradition. Build a monument to God that's beautiful to look at. that actually makes you feel something. There's the physicality of what you've created as a dedication to God makes people pause and go, that's interesting. So we need to be very, very, one, proud of the fact that we have temples, proud of the fact that if you go to the temple, you know information that all these people know that is unique to you.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
We need to help them realize, not only does this one connect you with God in a way that most people wouldn't understand, it'll help connect you to people on the entire Eastern Hemisphere more. You will be able to relate with and talk with people of completely different backgrounds, because right now the whole, everyone my age wants to be very, very, they want to be very diverse, they want to be very accepting. You will actually be able to have intelligent, thoughtful discussions with somebody from Iran, with somebody from India about faith and religion, if you're going to the temple consistently and you were
Right.
paying attention to what the ceremony is, and you were not being like, well, I'm so weirded out that we have to wear something. No, like actually take it in and go, am I a part of something very ancient, but also part of something that people throughout the world are doing in a similar way, that there's an importance that's been preserved of an actual ceremony, of a ritual for God with hidden information that limited people are supposed to know. Do I actually get to be a part of that thing? You get to be a part of that thing. We can really show, even people who are weirded out by the temple still go and take pictures in front of it. Why? Because something's drawing them to it. They can't even deny. They go, yeah, it is beautiful. I would much rather look at that than, some rundown, destroyed street in Nephi, Utah. I'd rather be at the temple. Why? If it's so weird and creepy. Something's drawing you there. It's one, you're an heir to it. You're part of a royal lineage. And you have this magic in you that wants to know about that thing. And so I think temples is one.
I love that.
Yeah.
And man, wait 1 minute. I'm going to turn on the light. It's getting a little dark, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to grab some water. I've only got about 10 more minutes. Is that okay, guys?
Oh, yeah, totally fine.
Okay, let me grab some water.
Okay, I'll say what I was about to say. 10 minutes. Okay, we can. I can make this work in the 10. And yeah, this has been a fun conversation.
This is a good one. I love the pioneer heritage, and I love the temple because we're so guarded and almost ashamed. But in all fairness, we were kind of taught that as Mormons, and I say Mormons because it's a culture, right? We were taught that for a long time to not talk about it, not mention it. But we can, and obviously there's things that are sacred that we don't, but there's so much we can talk about.
Right.
And I remember I was in Israel just a little over a year ago, right before COVID. And we stayed in the Jewish quarter, and there were, we just Airbnb'd, my son and I, and we just did our own thing. And we actually got our place from an Orthodox Jewish guy. And we got talking about his clothing and what the symbolism was underneath. They have the little tassels that they come out. It's kind of a shroud that they wear. And we got talking about that, and we say, yeah, we have something similar. And you're absolutely right. It immediately connected us, was our sacred clothing for both of us. And it connected us and we're still friends. Anyway, go ahead.
Right.
Well, real quick too, I never could understand the Christian critics that believe in the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Exactly.
And we've got the Nag Hammadi and the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Nag Hammadi. There's evidences there of temple and baptisms for the dead, proxy work. There's even depictions of Christ with his apostles with certain markings on their garments. I mean, you can go back and study these things, and there's so much evidence of things that we do that were restored through the prophet Joseph Smith, and they act like it didn't exist, like it's not in those ancient records that we've discovered.
You're exactly right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the others, Kwaku?
Yeah, the last one is sound like a broken record, the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
It's the Book of Mormon. People, there are quotes in the Book of Mormon. So I live in I'm in the infographic generation where there's an app called Visco, and of course there's Instagram, but there's these accounts on both that just have these motivating quotes, and they'll get millions of shares and millions of likes. And I see these daily on so many people's feeds that they're posting. And I read some of it and I go, that's a nice wisdom, but there's some stuff in the Book of Mormon that's way better, that's more beautiful, and they don't know what's in the Book of Mormon. So I actually, I started making some infographic little things myself. I started using like quotes from the Book of Mormon to see if people would know it. And they're like, wow, this is beautiful. What is it? Like, it's the Book of Mormon. And they're like, oh. And then my friend, or they're like, whoa, interesting. My friend James runs an account called Quote Cannon. It's a big quote Instagram account where he's got like 27,000 followers, something like that. And he shares beautiful quotes from throughout history. And every once in a while, he'll throw something from the church in there, and people will be like, this is beautiful. What, this is a Mormon thing? He goes, yes, yes, it's beautiful for a reason. But not just that, it's that when I tell some of my friends to read the Book of Mormon as if it's a warning for what's going to happen in their lifetime. When you tell them, when you just tell them repeatedly for 19 years, read it and see how you feel, read it and see how you feel, and they're not feeling anything, that means you need to find a different way for them to feel it. And so I say, everyone is very up to date with current events right now. It's impossible to avoid current events. That's just the way our social media operates, where you know what's going on. You cannot read the Book of Moroni and not see similarities to our society there. That's what makes it real for a lot of people, when they can go, oh man, that's one example in the Book of Mormon. Of course, I've been talking so long, so now I'm blanking on the chapter. But when the girl assassinates, like cuts off the head of her father, you know what I'm talking?
Isn't that Ether?
It's in Ether.
It's in the Book of Ether.
Yeah, it's the Jaredites. Yeah,
Jaredites.
Yes, yes.
Secret combinations.
Yep.
Well, I took I was showing my friends about the Jeffrey Epstein bank case, where they're taking a look at the checks. The judge in charge of his checks, they could know who was paying him money. And then someone disguised as a UPS driver goes to the house of the judge, tries to kill the judge, ends up shooting the judge's husband, and I think the judge's son, and escapes.
Oh my goodness.
I compared that with what's in the Book of Ether, and my friends are going, whoa, that's weird. It's like, yes, it's literally, it's not just saying read this for good feelings. Read this and then look at your own society and world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let me tell you about these other Christians who don't have the Book of Mormon. They're going to be very unprepared. And we as Latter-day Saints have this book, and we can go, this is what season we're in right now, and the other Christians don't have it. And I always tell them, look, you can bash on all you want, you can get mad at a rock and a hat all you want, but at the end of the day, if you are not being prepared for what's coming, you are going to feel very, very silly later on, because you have a book about this exact continent, and it tells you exactly how it fell, and you were ignoring it completely and only talking about how you've been given grace, and sometimes you're just using that grace to sin, and you've completely forgotten about what's really going on. So we need to completely just change. We need to make the Book of Mormon something more exciting. I think one is not having it in encyclopedia format. Make it read like an actual book. Take away the verse numbers and actually publish a couple that way and make people feel like they're reading I think that would actually, like, psychologically, when I read something like that, when I read the Aeneid or the Iliad, which I'm really into some of that ancient Greek stuff, I'm actually more excited to read it than when it's in verse format. Because it's verse format, it feels like an assignment. But when it's not, it feels like I'm getting into,
like you're reading a book or a novel, right?
And that's how it was meant to be. They didn't write verse numbers.
No,
it wasn't supposed to be numbered.
It was originally written the way. Yeah, right.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, the original way was like a book. Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah.
So we may have run out. We're about to run out of time here, are we?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Like 5 more minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just got some other stuff coming up.
No problem. But yeah. So I think if we can make people proud of where they came from, proud of the temple, and proud of the Book of Mormon, then we can do wonders. And there's so many reasons to make them proud of those things. And it's just going to take a new way of looking at it, making people excited about. Because by the way, everybody likes a little bit of mystery. Everybody likes mystery. That's why people are watching all these mystery shows. Everybody likes magic. That's why people will line outside of the theater for a new Lord of the Rings movie, and literally camp out of the Cinemark until it comes out. Everybody wants those things. That's a part. You can't get rid of it. No matter how hard the atheists try, they cannot get rid of that yearning for magic that's in people. It will always be there.
Right.
And so we need a big rally. We need a rallying spirit to make people remember where they came from and who they are and why they should be proud to be Latter-day Saints.
You should be working for CES, like writing the curriculum and the missionary curriculum.
I agree. Hey, will old people be invited to the rally? I would love to go to that.
Everyone is invited. Every single person.
Okay, good.
Of course. Yeah, no, we need, because people's testimonies are just as precious when they're 17 or when they're 80. It doesn't matter, right? Like, I'm not, even though I emphasize my age bracket a lot, that's really because I have that kind of limited scope.
Sure.
But it's also, there's no room to, or idea that you of refusing to listen to your elders. You should. I'm from a black family from the South. That was a very big thing for us growing up, right? So, I wanted to make clear that my focus on the Gen Z thing is not trying to downplay our elders. But yeah, so that's Kwaku's 2 cents. We'll see what your audience thinks, but man, I
love it.
I love it.
I want you to come back too, like whenever you want.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, Sunday nights are generally can be free. I can make them free. But we all get super busy, and so you all know.
Yeah,
When do you think you're going to hold this rally?
I want to hold it late September in Provo.
Okay. All right.
So it's going to be really interesting because I know that that is going to be the most criticized thing I ever do. And I know that progressive Mormons are going to attack it very much, not because specifically because they don't want to be mainstream. And so, but they're going to say it's because it's not authorized by the church, that's what they're going to say. But it's going to be completely because they don't want anything against their vision. So right. It's going to be attacked. Man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be, when it all happens, people are going to go, this is a good thing, so.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Are you going to go to that?
I'm going to be there 100%. My wife's going to be there. And probably
I live in California, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm an hour, probably an hour and a half away, but I would go to that and so fast and support it. And if it's okay, when it gets closer, I'll advertise it on my channel too.
Yeah, me too.
Of course. Yeah. I'll send you guys everything, all the flyers and all that stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, this is so good. It's called sticking it. It's called sticking it to the man. And the man, it's academia. That's it. I love it.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So let's end it there. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And don't ever feel like you can't talk. I mean, we like to give you the floor, you know what I mean? And have at it. All right.
Perfect. Okay.
So I'll get a hold of you maybe next month. I don't know, see if you're available again. Or whenever.
Sounds great to me. Yeah. Hey, thank you guys so much.
All right.
I appreciate it.
We'll see you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.